How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the Thinking Blue podcast. I am your host, Blake Harris. No guest with me this week, but we are still going to have a great show headed your way. I'm going to be going over all the latest injury news, breaking down the latest series, and previewing the upcoming matchup against the first place San Francisco Giants. Before we get to the episode, make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Blake Harris TBLA for all the latest Dodgers news and content. If you're on Twitter, it's an absolute must follow. A lot of fun times going over there on Twitter, so again, if you have an account and you're not doing so yet, I highly recommend you go over there. Follow me at Blake Harris TBLA. Alright, but let's kick things off first with the latest injury report. I mean, essentially, I know I talked about this in my last podcast, and I think the one before that, but half the Dodgers team is injured. I think they currently have something like 14 players either on the injured list or 14 players have been on the injured list at one point this season. But the reinforcements are coming back for the most part. They're going to be getting a lot of guys back within the next month or so. So hopefully by the end of June, this team is going to be pretty much fully healthy, aside from the guys that are currently on the 60-day IL. So let's kick things off with Cody Bellinger and Zach McKinstry, the two guys that are expected to be back, I guess, at this rate within the next week. Both those players, they're going to have a rehab assignment tonight with the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Now, I don't think Dave Roberts has talked about exactly how long they expect them to be there. I know he's pretty much said they'll be there until they feel ready, so that very well could be 2 to 3 games. That could be a week. I'm not exactly certain. Roberts has said over the last couple of weeks that McKinstry's likely going to be back before Bellinger. Zach McKinstry's been dealing with the oblique injury, whereas Cody Bellinger's just been dealing with that freak foot, shin, leg injury, whatever happened to him, so they need to get him running at 100%, so it is going to take Cody Bellinger a few extra games, I think, so maybe Zach McKinstry, maybe 3 to 4 games from him, maybe just a weekend series, and he'll be back next week. Again, Cody Bellinger, I'm not going to say it's going to be, 5 days, 7 days, but I think a good week, maybe a week from right now, maybe 8-9 days, then we can see him back. I definitely think before June 1st, we can expect Cody Bellinger back, so those are going to be two huge pieces the Dodgers get back. Then DJ Peters and Luke Raley, they can go back to Oklahoma City where they can consistently strike out over there. Again, no knock on those guys, but they definitely deserve, or they definitely need more time in the minor leagues. We've seen that so far this season. Tony Gonsolin, he was placed on the 60-day IL when the Dodgers activated Albert Pujols, and I know a lot of people were freaking out thinking, what happened? Did he suffer a setback? No, this is retroactive, I believe, to April 1st, so I think Tony Gonsolin, again, I forget the date, but I think it's May 31st is when he's eligible to be activated off the 60-day IL, so that's 10 days from now. I think it's probably going to be that date. I know he still has to go on a rehab assignment. I think the Dodgers want to have him throw 3 to 4 innings in a game because whenever he comes back, he's going to be the Dodgers' number 5 starter, so they want to build him up. Again, I don't know what the latest news is on him. Again, he's eligible to come off in 10 days, but there's no news yet as to when we could potentially see him on a rehab assignment. So hopefully it's in the next coming days. Hopefully we see him again soon because the Dodgers, they're pretty much going with a bullpen game, once every 5 starts until he's able to come back. So the sooner he comes back, the better the bullpen's going to be. And looking forward to having the Catman back on the field because we haven't seen him yet this year. I mean, he's again, aside from all the players that are on the 60-day IL, I think he's the lone player that we have yet to see this season that we were expecting to see. So hopefully for him, he comes back, he goes into that Dodgers starting rotation, and the pitching staff gets a lot better. Brusdar Graterol, the last I heard, he picked up a ball and I think has resumed throwing. I think he's going to be on the taxi squad this weekend. Again, I'm not entirely sure. I know Dave Roberts talked about it the other day. But I think Brusdar's on the taxi squad for this upcoming series against the Giants, which means he's probably close to being activated, but I don't think it's going to come this weekend unless the Dodgers desperately need him. So I think we can expect Brusdar back within the next week or so, but again, there's no real timetable in regards to his return. Speaking of no timetable for a return, Garrett Clevinger, Scott Alexander, they're both on the injured list. I know Scott Alexander, the expectation for him, at least last I heard, was at least 2 to 3 more weeks. Which is not ideal because, he was actually doing fairly well out of the bullpen, and his injury wasn't expected to be as serious as it was, so he's expected to come back probably middle-ish of June, I would say. Gary Clevinger, no update on him, but at this point, that's, take all the time you need, Gary Clevinger, take all the time you need, no rush for you to come back. And the final player on the injured list to quickly talk about is AJ Pollock. The last I heard is he's still out for likely a couple weeks as he's dealing with another hamstring injury. This one, I didn't talk about it on my last podcast, but This whole AJ Pollock injury really upset me because when he pulled it or strained it or whatever happened a couple weeks ago in Anaheim, you knew that he just should have gone on the 10-day injured list. The Dodgers, they were cautious with him. They didn't have him in the lineup. They had him only pinch hit. And I just thought that was a stupid decision. I thought it would have been smart just to have him out for 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, have him have that hamstring fully healed and have him be ready to go. Now, obviously he came back, and I think it was the first game he started, and he tweaked that hamstring, and it's looking like it's going to be at least into early, maybe middle June. So I'm upset the way the Dodgers handled it, but I guess they thought they were doing it the right way. But it looks like Pollock is going to be out at least a couple more weeks. So it's probably going to be the longest injured list piece of news that I'm going to be talking about over the next couple weeks, because, like I said, there are a lot of guys that are coming back. Again, within a week from right now, we could see Bellinger, McKinstry, Gratterall back, and then 2 weeks from now, Gonsolin could be back as well. So a lot of guys coming back. Hopefully this injured list continues to get smaller as we go on. So let's talk about now the latest Dodgers news. When I had David Rosenthal on my my last episode, we were talking about the addition of Albert Pujols, what that's going to mean for the club, and what to expect. And what an opening week from Albert Pujols. I mean, I don't know about you guys, I had no expectations when the Dodgers signed him. I mean, I knew he was going to be a depth piece. I knew he was going to be a bench piece. I knew that he was going to be a great presence in the locker room, but I had no expectations. Well, he's played 4 games with the Dodgers so far, and he has either an RBI or a base hit in all 4 games. He had an RBI single in his first game. I think his second game, he got hit by a pitch that drove in a run. His third game, he came off the bench and got a pinch hit. Now, I'm sure it was somewhere on Twitter I could have found it, but I would love to know when Albert Pujols' last pinch hit was. Not his last pinch hit appearance, because I think he only has a handful of those, but whenever his last pinch hit was. And then, of course, last night, hit a home run number 668. And Albert Pujols has been a pleasant surprise. He still is probably the slowest player in baseball. Watching him run, it really does hurt. But again, I'm not expecting him to beat out infield singles. I'm expecting him to hit into double plays. But if he can constantly hit the ball, and he's had some hard hit balls. I mean, I think he had one out that was 109 off the bat. He had another out that I think was 104 off the bat. So if he's putting the ball in play, if he's making hard contact, if he's hitting lefties good, I will take that any day of the week. But although, his hits, his RBIs, those have been impressive for me, his veteran presence, just watching him in the clubhouse this past week, I didn't watch enough Angels games to know what he was like whenever they'd show him in the dugout on the field, but I feel like he is having the best time on the baseball field he's had in years. I mean, every time they cut to him, he's smiling, he's having a good time, he's talking with his teammates. I mean, there are just so many different angles and shots that we've seen in this past week of him just having conversations with so many different players. The first one, though, I want to talk about is just his relationship with Will Smith. I mean, the crazy part is Will Smith, I wrote an article on this for, I think, yesterday. I think Will Smith was, 6 years old when Albert Pujols made his Major League debut, and Will Smith was, 16 years old when Albert Pujols signed with the Angels. So Will Smith, Albert was his favorite player growing up. He's watched him his entire career, and if you remember, when the Dodgers had their ring ceremony, last month, Albert Pujols was the one that introduced Will Smith and congratulated him on winning the World Series championship, and now they are teammates. And the fact that Will Smith was on base when Albert Pujols hit that home run last night, and Will Smith was the one that scored, and Albert Pujols had his first career home run with the Dodger, I thought that was really cool. What an amazing moment for Will Smith. And last night when Albert Pujols was talking about, his relationship with Will Smith, he was giving Will Smith some high praise. He said he had a special swing. He said when he's been watching Will Smith in the cages, he just has the ed factor. He's really, excited for how his career is going to go. So Albert Pujols, this is one of the best hitters in baseball history, and he's talking about Will Smith the way he is. I mean, how can you not get excited about that? And again, Will Smith was saying that when Albert Pujols, entered the clubhouse for the first time, he actually approached Will Smith and said, "Hey, I'm here to help. Whatever you need from me, don't hesitate to ask." So the fact that Albert Pujols was immediately going out of his way to approach all these young players, it is something you truly like to see. I know there are people out there that don't think veteran presence makes much of an impact. I think it does. I mean, having, again, one of the greatest hitters in MLB history in the clubhouse talking with all these young guys, and not even just Will Smith. There's been shots of him talking with Mookie Betts, of him with Walker Buehler. He was, I think, the other day when he was talking with Walker Buehler, he was pretty much kind of hyping him up, telling him, be confident in yourself, be confident in your pitches, you have some amazing stuff. So you got a young pitcher like Walker Buehler, and Albert Pujols, again, one of the best hitters, is complimenting your stuff. That's got to be nothing but a confidence booster. And even the other day, he was talking with Julio, another young pitcher. And again, these conversations are going to go such a long way. Even again with Gavin Lux, he was talking with Gavin Lux, probably exchanging a lot of valuable information. So again, Albert Pujols, whatever he's able to contribute on the field, I will take. It is more than enough. But again, this veteran presence he's been giving in the locker room, I think it's going to be really valuable for the Dodgers. For some of these young players, again, like maybe like DJ Peters, Sheldon Noisy, again, Gavin Lux, what a mentor to have in that clubhouse. So the Albert Pujols signing, again, it's been 4 games so far, not a huge sample size, but I've loved what I've seen so far. Moving on now, let's talk about Gavin Lux. I just mentioned his name. When I recorded about a week and a half ago with my buddy Josh, we were talking about our biggest disappointment through the first month and a half of the season, and mine was Gavin Lux. Strictly due to the fact that he was the top prospect in baseball a couple years ago. He's been the top prospect in the Dodgers organization for years, and he just hasn't lived up to the hype. He's had 3 years now in the show, and he just hasn't, reached expectations that we all had from them. And he had a fantastic spring training. I mean, his spring training was so good, and I was pumped. I mean, I was thinking, yes, he's finally turning into the player we were all expecting. Then the first month and a half, he got off to a slow start, and it wasn't looking good. And then, of course, when I said he's disappointed me, I think it was actually that night that he hit that game-winning home run. And over his last 16 games, I mean, he's hitting .328, OPS of just under 800, or excuse me, OPS of just under 900. I mean, that just goes to show how incredible he's been. 2 home runs, 12 RBIs. He had another home run the other night. I mean, he's just been making contact, it seems like, every at bat he's up, and his strikeout numbers are down, his walk numbers are up, his plate discipline has looked a whole lot better over the last 3 weeks or so, and his defense has been amazing. I know last year he was having problems with the yips or whatever was the issue when he was at second base, and that kind of gave people a negative impact on how he is defensively, but this is the best infielder that the Dodgers have with the club. He's better defensively than Corey Seager is. At second base when he was playing there, he was making some fantastic plays, so his defense has been amazing, and again, his bat finally heating up, his confidence is definitely rising game by game, and this is going to be interesting in regards to how the Dodgers go about Corey Seager this offseason in regards to free agency, because if Gavin Lux, again, for the next month and a half, however long Corey Seager's out, if he plays a really, really good shortstop, plays elite defense, is able to hit the ball, that might make it a little easier for the Dodgers to part ways with Corey Seager and save themselves $300 million. So Gavin Lux, well done. Again, I was really disappointed with his first month and a half, but over these last 3 weeks, he's been phenomenal. So hopefully he can keep this up, because if Gavin Lux is hitting, I don't need him to be hitting .333 with an OPS of 900 the rest of the season. I mean, if he can hit just around 300, maybe like 280, 290, OPS above 800, a home run every now and then, and continue to provide amazing defense, and again, make an impact on the bases as well, because he is the fastest player on the Dodgers, that is going to be quite the addition for the Dodgers if he's like your 6th or 5th best hitter moving forward. But let's move on now to the pitching side of things. 3 pitchers that I want to touch up on before we get to the quick series preview with the San Francisco Giants. The first is Jimmy Nelson. This is a guy the Dodgers signed him last season. He missed all of 2020. I believe it was shoulder surgery. I want to say maybe elbow surgery. I forget exactly what his injury was. He was great in spring training for the Dodgers, ended up getting that final spot on the opening day roster. And he had some rough starts to begin the season. Granted, they were in Colorado, so that's probably what led to it. But over Jimmy Nelson's last 13 games, 16 2/3 innings with a 1.08 ERA, holding opponents to a 143 average. He's averaging 14.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and has a whip of 0.92. And if you take out that Padres game, in which he was still pretty good, I think he had a couple strikeouts, but I know he allowed a run or two, he's been essentially near perfect over his last 2 to 3 weeks. His stuff has always been there. It's essentially just been the health. I know I saw a tweet earlier from, I think, Michael Whitman. He said that Jimmy Nelson looks like he's turning into the Brandon Morrow of 2017 for the Dodgers, which I think they will gladly accept. But Jimmy Nelson, the fact that this guy's able to give the Dodgers length out of the bullpen, he can make a spot start if needed. He's going to be an extremely valuable piece for the Dodgers moving forward. Again, if you need him to start a game, he can give you 3 to 4 innings. If you need 2 innings out of the bullpen, he'll give you that. And again, overall, you take out those 2 rough outings at Colorado to begin the season, he's been fantastic for the Dodgers. So really, really impressed with what I've seen from Jimmy Nelson. But I'm also really impressed with what I've seen from Kenley Jansen. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that Kenley Jansen is my goddamn closer. Now, I gave him a hard time last October because he was shaky. I know how he handled that game against the Rays in the World Series. It didn't sit well with me, but I've always still been on his side saying that he should be the closer because he's the Dodgers closer. He's the best option, regardless of who you think is a better option. No, Kenley Jansen is the best choice to be a closer for the Dodgers. Even earlier in the season when I think he had one bad outing, in, Oakland, when he came in, he blew a save, but, if Will Smith just would have gotten a tag down, the Dodgers would have won, and everyone, would have been fine with it, but a lot of people were jumping off, and they were going completely just ballistic on Kenley Jansen earlier in the season, even though his numbers were still really good, and at this point right now, he has just been fantastic. He's having the best season he's had in years. I mean, he just saved back-to-back games. He saved 3 of the last 4, hit 97 on the gun. He hit 97 last night. Again, that was his 3rd game in 4 outings. I know people were talking about Kenley's velocity, that he can only hit 95 plus, if he has some rest. So obviously he's showing if he's going on a back-to-back, he can still hit 97. He was hitting 95 consistently. And again, his stuff just looks like it did back in 2016, 2017. This looks like the Kenley of old. His strikeout numbers, those are up, especially over the last couple of weeks. He's been striking out multiple hitters every outing he comes in, because I think the first few outings of the season, his strikeout per 9 was something like 6, maybe 7 per 9, but over his last 2 to 3 weeks, I think it's something like 13 or 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. So essentially for Kenley, also no one's getting hits off of him over his last 3 weeks. I think opponents are hitting 0.83 off him. There's no hits off Kenley Jansen. His only problem this season has been his walks. I mean, he's issuing walks at a historic rate. So if he can just get those walks down, now he doesn't need to be averaging 2 walks per 9 innings, which would be great at this point, considering I think he's averaging 7 walks per 9 innings. If he can get that down to just 5 or 4, kind of just gradually go down, Kenley Jansen's going to make a case for one of the best closers in baseball yet again, because again, he's been fantastic for the Dodgers this season. I've been loving what I'm seeing out of him. He said earlier in the season, he's pitching angry. We're going to be seeing an angry Kenley Jansen. So if this is what it takes, if Kenley needs to pitch angry and pissed every outing, so be it, because it's working. But I've absolutely loved what I've seen from Kenley. And it's nice knowing that we can have full confidence in him again when he comes out there in the 9th inning. But the final pitcher I do want to talk about, another one that's been really exceeding my expectations, and that's David Price. Now, this is another guy just like Jimmy Nelson, where a few rough outings to begin his season kind of have really hurt his numbers. But over his last 7 outings, David Price has thrown 9 innings, allowed only 1 run, with 11 strikeouts and only 2 walks. So again, you take out those rough outings in, I think he pitched 2 games in Colorado, or maybe it was 1 game in Colorado, then 1 game in Oakland, I can't exactly remember, but you take out those first 2 outings, and he's been fantastic for the Dodgers. It seems like it's been a while because he missed about 3 weeks with a hamstring injury, so it's been some time since we've seen him have consistent, outings, but if you remember, before he was out with that hamstring injury, he came in, I believe, had 2 saves within 1 week. So he's been great out of the bullpen for the Dodgers, is doing whatever is asked out of him, because again, this is a guy where he's been a starter, a Cy Young winner starter in his career, and he said, I have no problem coming out of the bullpen. He's been doing that. He's been coming in to save games. He got a start the other day in the bullpen game. Actually, I guess that was yesterday. I can't even remember days anymore. But David Price, I mean, this is a veteran. He's a pro. I absolutely love what he's done with the Dodgers so far. And again, the fact that he sacrificed so much, you can't just help but respect and tip your cap to the guy, because that takes a lot. I mean, that takes a lot when you've been a starter for 12, 13 years and you're having to sacrifice your role. So David Price, again, his last 7 outings, he's been fantastic, and hopefully he's able to keep this up, because with him, Jimmy Nelson, Kenley Jansen, Blake Trinan, Victor Gonzalez, Tony Gonsolin coming back, this is going to be a really, really good bullpen for the Dodgers moving forward, assuming they're able to get everyone healthy. But let's move now to the quick Giants series preview. Entering this weekend, the Giants somehow not only have the best record in the National League West, not only have the best record in the National League, they have the best record, I believe, in all of baseball, which is shocking to me. Now, I know a lot of people are low on the Giants this year. I thought they were going to be about a 500 team, but I was not expecting this. The starting pitching has been insane. I mean, I saw some tweet the other day that the 3 starters, I believe they signed in the offseason for a combined $29 million, are just all putting up all-star caliber numbers. So the Dodgers are paying Trevor Bauer $40 million, whereas the Giants are paying him three different starters $29 or $30 million and having really good years. So the Giants, Farhan Zaidi, well done. He's put together a really good team. The offense has been really good for the Giants. Brandon Crawford is playing like an MVP candidate. Buster Posey's playing like an MVP candidate. Brandon Belt's been fantastic. So overall, everything's just been clicking for the Giants, but the Dodgers are facing them at the right time. The Dodgers are playing arguably the best baseball they've played all season. They're heading into San Francisco. It's going to be an exciting series. They do have Trevor Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, and Walker Buehler. Actually, no, I believe Walker Buehler is on, I think, Saturday. I think Julio Urias is on Sunday. That's right. They pushed Kershaw back because next weekend in Houston, it's going to be Kershaw Bauer for those two. So a great pitching matchup this weekend between the two teams. Again, the Dodgers, they're coming in at the hottest time, but also the Giants, I think they're 8-2 over their last 10. I want to say they've been playing some really good baseball, so two really hot teams. But when it's a rivalry weekend, it doesn't matter how good you're playing because these teams are always going to play each other tough. I'm hoping the Dodgers go for the sweep, but I'm going to give my prediction. I think the Dodgers are going to take 2 out of 3 from the Giants, which I will take because then at the end of the series, they'll be trailing them by only 1 game for the division lead. Hopefully the Dodgers don't get swept because the last thing you want is for them to be leaving that series all of a sudden down 5 games in the division. Again, plenty of time to make it up, but the Dodgers, they can take first place back this weekend, which would be great. But again, I'll take 2 out of 3, be only 1 game out of first place, leaving San Francisco, and I think their confidence will be at an all-time high at least for this season. So I'm taking 2 out of 3. Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what you think your prediction's going to be. But speaking of Twitter, let's head over there right now for our Q&A. Again, every podcast episode I always wrap it up with a Q&A based on questions you guys ask me on Twitter. So again, go to Twitter at Blake Harris TBLA. Make sure you guys ask me questions for my next podcast. I'll probably have 5 to 10 minutes to get to as many questions as I can. So hopefully I'm able to get to everyone's. Looks like we have about 25 questions or so. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of them. So again, if you have a question I don't answer, make sure to ask me for the next episode. Because again, I love answering your guys' questions. I love interacting with you guys. I like getting to as many as I possibly can. So without further ado, let's get to these questions. The first question comes from Cardiac Huss. Is Gavin Lux already a Hall of Famer? Yes, Gavin Lux is already a Hall of Famer just because of his pimped home run from last week. I'd like to see Gavin Lux eventually get there. That'd be something. So he definitely has the potential to be a Hall of Famer, but let's just have him hit above 300 first, and then we can talk about Hall of Fame moving forward. David wants to know thoughts on this new Kenley. Well, I did talk about my love for Kenley just a few minutes ago, but I absolutely love it. It seems like it's been a while since Kenley has pitched with this kind of swagger, this intensity. So again, Angry Kenley, I'm here for it. Baba Betts wants to know when Zach McKinstry comes back, does he get starting left field? It's going to be interesting when Zach McKinstry comes back, because this was a guy that was essentially supposed to be like a bench kind of guy, kind of like a Kike type player where you could play him all over, but he earned himself starting time before, he was missed about a month with his oblique injury. So when he's back, I don't think he's going to be like the starting left fielder. I definitely think that, Dave Roberts is going to get creative by having him play second base, having him play in the outfield, mix and match a bunch of guys. So he'll definitely see action in left field, but he's going to be seeing action all over the place. Joe Holt, assuming once everyone is healthy and no further injuries, who are the 4 players getting optioned or DFA'd? Raley, Peters, Noisy are no-brainers. Who's the 4th going to be? So yeah, I think once everyone's back, Luke Raley, DJ Peters, Sheldon Noisy, those are probably the easy options. Who's the 4th going to be? At that point, again, I'd have to get the complete Dodgers roster in front of me. At this moment, I forget if they're carrying 13 pitchers or 14 pitchers. Again, it depends on who comes back when. If it's going to be a 4th, it's tough to see them going with a bat. Maybe a player in the bullpen, maybe like an Alex Vesia, maybe like a Dennis Santana, someone like that, because I think once everyone's healthy, they might go with 13-13, or again, it might be 14-12. I would just have to, this involves doing math, Joe, which is something I don't like to do. I'd have to whip out my calculator, whip out my spreadsheet, and figure out who's going where. So I do think Raley, Peters, and Noisy, those are the 3 no-brainers, like you said. Again, it's just a matter of, do the Dodgers want to go 13-13, or are they going to go 14-12 with 14 pitchers and 12 position players? We got 3 quick questions from Big Mook. Will Gavin Lux keep up his hot streak? I will say yes, he will. Are the Giants for real? I don't think they're for real. I think they're going to be a wild card contender, but I don't think this is a division contending team, at least not yet. And his final question, will Julio Urias get more consistent? Well, I think for the most part, I mean, if you were to take out that start he made against the Angels a couple weeks ago when he allowed 5 runs, I think is what it was. I think he's been pretty consistent all season. He's been fantastic for the Dodgers. So overall, I think Julio's actually honestly exceeded my expectations so far this year. All right, next question. This one comes from Betts Fan Club. Who is the most likely to get a no-hitter this season in the Dodgers rotation? Well, the easy answer is Trevor Bauer. That's the easy answer. But because it just seems like he has the best stuff to get it done, and he has the arm to go 9 innings, whereas a lot of these guys, I don't think the Dodgers would be comfortable having Kershaw or Urias or Buehler throw 110 pitches, where I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Bauer going 120. So I'm going with Trevor Bauer, who if I had to put money on it, I'd go with Trevor Bauer. But I still want to see Clayton Kershaw get his second no-hitter. That's what exactly I'm rooting for. Zachary wants to know, how do you think the lineup is going to look once everyone is back healthy? The lineup is going to be scary. I mean, you're going to have a lineup with Mookie, Seager, Muncy, Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Will Smith, A.J. Pollock, Zach McKinstry, Albert Pujols every now and then. So once everyone's back healthy, again, it's going to be matchup dependent, whether it's a lefty or a righty on the mound, what positions Dave wants to throw out there. But once everyone in that starting lineup is back healthy, this offense is going to go back to being the best offense in all of baseball. So hopefully, again, it's probably not going to be until we get Corey Seager back that the entire offense is healthy. So hopefully by like June 1st or by the All-Star break, we can finally see what a healthy offense looks like so far. Justin, this is a really good question, Justin. What do you think a contract extension for Clayton Kershaw is going to look like this offseason? Now, I've talked about this before with some people where this is going to be very interesting to see what kind of direction Clayton Kershaw wants to go with, because he is still one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. If he wants $30 million a year, he can easily get $30 million a year, no questions asked. But I know that he's come out and he's pretty much said he might want to play this on a year-to-year basis, see exactly what he wants to do, because this is a guy where he's not going to play till he's 40, unless he just feels like he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball, and if that's the case, he might continue to play till he's 40. But I think Clayton Kershaw's the kind of guy where he's literally now officially, with the exception of winning a Silver Slugger, literally accomplished everything you could possibly imagine in a Major League Baseball career for a starting pitcher. So at this point, he honestly has nothing left to play for, especially if the Dodgers win another World Series. So I wouldn't be shocked if he has only 2 to 3 years left in him at the absolute max. And I think for him, what would be a smart decision, and what would be a smart decision for the Dodgers, were to pull a Trevor Bauer and go something in regards to Trevor Bauer's contract, where essentially you give Kershaw like a 2 to 3 year contract, but they have opt-outs at the end of every season, because again, I don't think Kershaw wants to sign a 4 or 5 year deal, anything like that. I think he wants to keep it short term, but you might as well just have options like Trevor Bauer does. So if I'm the Dodgers, I give him like a 2 year, again, two ways around this. One, the Dodgers might give him the $30-35 million he deserves, or what I'm hoping happens is he says, you know what, I've already made like $300+ million in my career. I'm willing to take a team discount, and we can do like a 3-year, $60 million deal. I think that'd be fantastic. But again, he's worth $30 million a year at least. I wouldn't have a problem with the Dodgers give it to him, but hopefully he's able to give the Dodgers a nice little team-friendly discount moving forward. Let's see what else we got right here. Let's see. Bueller Troll, will Walker Buehler be an all-star this year? He definitely can be. The only problem is I think Bauer's going to be an all-star. Julio looks like he's on track to be an all-star. Clayton Kershaw, he'll probably be an all-star. So it depends on how many Dodgers starters are going to be all-stars, because while it's possible, I think 4 Dodger starters can be worthy of being in the all-star game. I don't think there's any chance that they take 4 of their starters, so he might be the odd man out, but there's definitely a solid chance that I think he can be an all-star. This next question comes from Deathly Deet, who I believe is an Astros fan, so we have our first, I believe, question coming from a non-Dodgers fan. Which Dodger do you think will hit for the cycle next, excluding Mookie and Cody Bellinger? That's a good question, and when the second I saw this, immediately I thought of Gavin Lux, just because Gavin Lux has the speed to stretch out a double into a triple, a single into a double. I mean, that's the hardest part with the cycle, getting that triple, and I think to do it, you need speed. So if it's not going to be Cody Bellinger, if it's not going to be Mookie Betts, I think it's going to be Gavin Lux. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got time for a few more questions. LA Doyers, what place in the National League West will the Dodgers be in at the All-Star break, and what place will they be in at the end of the season? I know this is boring. I know this is cliche. I think they're going to be in first place by the All-Star break. I mean, they're only, 2 games out right now, and the All-Star break is a little less than 2 months away. So they're going to be in first place by the All-Star break, and I think they're going to be in first place to end the season. We got to see 2 more questions. One comes from Corey Seagoat. How will McKinstry and Bellinger return go? Slow start, or they pick up right where they left off at the bat? I don't think they're going to get off to slow starts, especially if they spend a week or so rehabbing with Oklahoma City. So I think both Zach McKinstry and Cody Bellinger, I think they're going to be good to go the second we see them back with the club. All right, we got time for one more question, and this comes from Dodger Mamba. Does Trevor Bauer have a legitimate chance to repeat as the Cy Young winner this year? I think he does. I mean, at this point, obviously, Jacob deGrom is probably the number 1 favorite. Corbin Burns is probably number 2. But I think Trevor Bauer is probably number 3 in regards to my current, Cy Young ballot. deGrom's missed time, that could potentially hurt him. Burns' missed time, that could potentially hurt him. So if Trevor Bauer continues to put up these kind of numbers, maybe if he can get a no-hitter, maybe if he can continue to go deep into games, I think we could definitely see Trevor Bauer winning his second Cy Young in as many years. So, wow, I think this has probably been my biggest Q&A. Normally, I'm only able to answer 5 to 6 questions, but there were a lot of really good questions from you guys this week. Normally, a lot of people ask the same question, but there were a lot of different ones. So, well done to everyone who asked me some questions. Again, if I didn't get to one of yours, again, sorry. I wish I had more time, but running long as it is. So, if I didn't answer your question, again, make sure you submit a question for my next episode. Make sure you go follow me on Twitter at BlakeHarrisTBLA. Turn on those notifications so whenever I post that I'm recording a show, you guys can go and you guys can hit me up with those questions. Also, I provide the latest Dodgers news. I like to think as quickly as possible you're getting your Dodgers news before anyone else. So if you like to stay on top of to date with the latest Dodgers breaking news, roster moves, anything like that, again, make sure to turn on those notifications over to Blake Harris TBLA. And again, I say this every episode. If you ever just want to hit me up in the DMs and just talk Dodgers baseball, ask me questions, I'm always more than willing to talk Dodgers baseball. A lot of people hit me up and they ask me certain questions in regards to a whole bunch of things. I love doing it. So again, if you want to talk some Dodgers baseball, don't hesitate to hit me up. Again, that is Blake Harris TBLA. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening. You guys can listen to my show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and over on YouTube. Just search Thinking Blue with Blake Harris. Thank you to everyone so much for tuning in this week. This has been Blake Harris, and I'll see all of you guys very soon.